Welcome back to another draft review. Today we're going to be talking Miami Dolphins with your boy Burbra, aka Hunter. And today we're going to be looking at both sides of the ball before we get into a mock draft later on. So with the Dolphins, obviously at quarterback, you had Tua and Mike White. Mike White coming over for the Jets, who had a decent career with the Jets, also played for the Cowboys for a little bit. It was very surprising to see the Jets let him go with the current situation they are in at quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, maybe no Aaron Rodgers. But then obviously with Tua, you have the concussion problem. Mike White coming in to be that backup. If Tua does go down again, unfortunately, Mike White will be able to come in and play pretty well. Then at the running back position, they have four really good running backs. Raheem Mostert coming over from the 49ers a few years ago. Jeff Wilson, same thing. They obviously had Myles Gaskin and Salvon Ahmed for a few years now. I mean, the running back group in general is a solid four and probably the deepest in the league. Then at wide receiver, you have a stud 1-2 with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And then Cedric Wilson coming over from the Cowboys last year. Didn't really play well last year, but in a wide receiver 3 role is pretty good. They also went out and got Robbie Anderson and Braxton Berrios this offseason. Two more guys to shore up that wide receiver depth core. At tight end, I don't really like any of the tight ends they currently have. Letting Mike Gesicki go was a little confusing. And then at fullback, Alex Ingold, one of the better fullbacks in the league, probably with Patrick Ricard as the best 1-2. The line on the left side is very good. At center, coming from the Cowboys for your goes as well, Connor Williams. Decent guy. I don't know about having him center in the long term. And then on the right side of the line, I don't really like both of their options. I kind of like Hunt, but I think he's replaceable, and Austin Jackson really hasn't lived up to the hype when he first came out of the draft. All right, now we're going to look at the defensive side of the ball for the Dolphins. They have pretty good depth on both edge rusher positions. Maybe want to add one more guy. I think nose tackle needs to be addressed pretty heavily. I don't like Raekwon Davis as the starter coming into this year. They're going to definitely need to address that. And then at linebacker, you have young stud Jalen Phillips and Jerome Baker. You also have David Long Jr., and then they also traded for Bradley Chubb last year. And then they also have two pretty decent backups in Duke Riley and Andrew Von Ginkel. Malik Reed and Channing Tindall are just two guys that are there. Nothing too special, but we'll see if they can contribute in any way, shape, or form. And then you look at the secondary, and the secondary is a very, very strong position for the Dolphins. Obviously, they went out and traded for Jalen Ramsey this offseason to pair with Xavier Howard, who's kind of fallen off a cliff the past year and a half. Maybe you want to address that. Maybe you get a CB3 in this draft. And then, at the depth position of it, Nick Needham, maybe he can turn into something. Noah hasn't really been anything. I don't think you're going to expect anything from Keon. You're probably going to need to add some more depth at that cornerback position as Xavier Howard keeps falling off and as they let go of Byron Jones this offseason. And then at safety, Javon Holland has been outstanding since being drafted by the Dolphins. Brandon Jones has been a very good strong safety as well. And then they brought in Deshaun Elliott, who's been passed around a little bit between the Lions and the Ravens since being drafted at Texas. But he's been pretty good when he's played. So, the secondary isn't really something they need to address except corner depth. So, this team overall doesn't have a lot of holes, so it's good that this year they don't have their first-round pick out of all years. All right, now we're going to get into a mock draft from the Miami Dolphins. And they don't have a lot of picks this year with just 4 as they lost their first-round pick due to tampering rules last year. So, they only have one. All right, so now we're going to get into a mock draft for the Miami Dolphins. They don't have a lot of picks this year due to tampering fines in the past and trades. They just have 2 day 2 picks and 2 day 3 picks. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes to them at 52, but let's get started. So here it'd be nice to add one of these corners here as a depth corner as a CB3. If you're the Dolphins, though, I don't think you're really looking at that because I think you trust Xavier Howard to be a good CB2 coming into this year. Hopefully he doesn't fall off a cliff even more. You don't need linebackers as good as it would be to add a Sanders or Trenton Simpson. So I think if you're the Dolphins, you're looking at tight end here. And Darnell Washington's a very interesting pick, and I think that's what they go with. A guy that's going to come to that offense and probably be, 3 or 4 behind Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And he's a very good addition to that offense. And they pick here again at 85. I'm just going to ignore these top corners because they are most likely not going to be here at this point in the draft. Maybe you start adding more and more depth at that corner position. And if you do, I think guys that could fall here would be guys like Blue Kelly. I think that's probably the most realistic one. I think that's who you end up taking. He could probably come in year 1 and be CB3 behind Jones. Hopefully he doesn't be forced into a CB2 role if Jones gets hurt again. But we'll see what happens there. And then really it's just about adding more and more depth as we go on. I think edge rusher is a position that could add more depth at. It'd be nice if you could get a defensive tackle, but the defensive tackle position in this draft is very weak. Maybe go another wide receiver with Robbie Anderson and Braxton Berrios not being here long. Maybe you move on from Cedric Wilson soon. Obviously, the plan is with Tyreek Hill. He's been rumored to retire once he reaches the 10-year mark in the league. So it'll be interesting to see what they go here. And I think it's really just a shot in the dark. So you just take a wide receiver, and that would be Ronnie Bell out of Michigan. Just another wide receiver to add to that core. More just a camp body, probably his first year, but could turn into something if given the playing time. And then obviously here with the last pick in the draft, just another one of the shots in the dark. And I think a guy like Isaiah McGuire could be a good pick here. Maybe Moro Ojomo, even Tavius Robinson from Ole Miss. A bunch of guys here that could help them out. And I think Moro Ojomo is probably going to be that guy. With the Dolphins, their fans don't have a lot to look forward to in this draft as they don't have a lot of picks. But I mean, if you add guys on the offensive side at tight end and you get your CB2 or CB3 technically, I think you like that moving forward. And there's a whole lot to this season that they're looking forward to with trying to compete for that division with the Bills. And they're really going to have to add a few key pieces during this draft to be able to do that. Thank you so much for watching. This is the Miami Dolphins Draft Review. See you in the next one.